Welcome to Clutch and Go, where today, for our last installment of Mazda month, we are driving the 2017 Mazda BT-50. If we take a look at the exterior of the BT-50, the first thing you'll notice, if you notice buckies and 4x4s and these things in general, is that it does look quite unique when compared to the other big 4x4s on the market today, especially because of the nose, which is very dissimilar from anything else we see. The wheels, which are also quite nice, but not that important. And then mainly the back. Those weird bug-eye lights are actual cause for perplexity, but when you look at them for a while and you spend some time with them, you start to realize that they are quite special, because there's nothing else like it, especially not on a 4x4, which kind of, once it grows on you, does quite a lot for the aesthetics of the BT-50. Now, to take a look at the cabin, unlike the other Mazda models, this does not have keyless entry, so you need to deal with a more conventional key. And when you take a look at the cabin, the first thing you realize is that it's a lot like being in a standard road car. Okay, first things first, I do not like this. It's a very clustered center control unit with a lot of buttons, and a lot of them don't really serve any real purpose in my opinion. And I mean, this dial pad is just completely outdated, but that's just me. You see, we have a lot of stowage space that is quite familiar. You even have a little ashtray, which I haven't seen in quite some time, which is either very cool or very stupid, depending on whether you are a smoker or not. And if we look at the main instrument pinnacle, speedometer, rev counter, and that's about it. You've got a little information display screen there that basically just tells you what drive mode you are in and how much range you have left on the fuel tank. Now, the important thing about the BT-50 is obviously this, the four-wheel drive controls. Now, as you can see, you can have normal rear-wheel drive in high range, four-wheel drive in high range, and four-wheel drive low range. Those two are important if you want to do what buckies are meant to do. Then another little important thing we see in the BT-50 is the decline control, which can be very handy when going down steep declines. Now, as for the rest of the double cab, you have space at the back, seeing as this is a double cab obviously, and quite a lot of it actually. It's quite spacious, and I don't think I've ever been in a double cab that is this spacious. And then, just because of reasons, you have cup holders there as well, which is kind of nice. And then obviously we have the nice big bed at the back, which is a sufficient parking space for most super minis, I guess. This is the top of the range SLE, which means it costs just over 555,000 Rand. It has 147 kilowatts of power and 470 Newton meters of torque, being produced by a 5-cylinder 3.2 liter diesel engine. Now, this is all conveyed through a 6-speed automatic gearbox, which to die-hard 4x4 enthusiasts might be the devil, seeing as manual control over the vehicle over all types of terrain is sort of the whole point of off-roading. But to each his own. Now, on a daily basis, the BT-50 is maybe not the best vehicle for your average person to drive, as it is vast. This thing is so big. Parking it in conventional parking spots is quite difficult, and I almost want to say you can't do it without the parking aids, and due to the parking aids only actually being applicable when in reverse, you tend to start reverse parking everywhere you can. But besides that, driving it is, I don't know, it's kind of open to individual opinions. I don't like it because I'm up high, super high, and the drivability of a 4x4 in general on a daily basis is just kind of silly because you have a horrible turning circle and you can't really do anything. The fuel consumption is quite bad at just over 12 liters per 100 kilometers. So all in all, this is not really a daily driver. But there's always a but. There's one thing I do like, and I'm kind of ashamed for saying it, and I think this is why bakkies or these big 4x4s might be so popular in South Africa, because you see a lot of them on the roads, a lot of people doing the daily commute with them. There is some semblance of power that you experience while driving around in one of these, because it's so big and you can pretty much drive over everything. You do feel like you have something that everyone else doesn't, and that something is, I guess, related to safety firstly, but also the fact that if they annoy you on the road, you can do significantly more damage to them than they can to you, which is a very weird feeling to experience. But I said it, I don't necessarily like it, but that's what I feel. So do with that whatever you will. Other than that, it's a big 4x4. It will go for a long time. It is a Mazda. A 4x4 is a 4x4 in my opinion. I really don't see the point of comparing them. I don't see the point of really making a big deal out of it, because at the end of the day, a 4x4 is only differentiated from any other vehicle by its ability to go off-road. And most of them do that well, seeing as the technology behind 4x4 drivability has advanced so much that it's borderline impossible to make a horrible 4x4 today. So there's one thing that I do wish to have and experience in a 4x4 that I drive, and that is steering feel, because in modern 4x4s you really don't have it anymore, and that to me is very annoying, because the whole point of going off-road is to experience something you can't experience every day. And what's the point of driving off-road if your haptic experience with the steering wheel is that going over rocks and through little slopes and things are exactly the same as driving on a paved road? I really don't see the point of that. It kind of negates the whole idea of off-roading for me. So what I want in a 4x4 is to be able to just feel what's happening to the wheels. I want to experience what the rubber around the wheels are experiencing, because that allows you to make more educated decisions as to what moves you should make to negotiate obstacles and rock gardens and things like that. And in my experience with the Hilux, which was very brief, that is not what you get. When I drove a Hilux, I literally just went over things and didn't feel a thing, which to my mind means that if you were to get stuck in something like a Hilux, you wouldn't know until you realize that the Hilux has gone immobile. You should be able to feel when things like that happen. So, will we experience this in the BT-50? I'm now going to give you a little taste of what the BT-50 is like to drive off-road in high range four-wheel drive. We are now approaching a quite steep and rocky incline. Now I'm not going to thrash it, seeing as this does not belong to me, but you should get a good idea of what it's like to drive nonetheless. And there it is, that steering feel. It's not as much as I would like, but it's something, and more than you get in most modern 4x4 vehicles. And that is just lovely, and that kind of sells it to me, because I want to experience something. I don't just want to float over things. I actually want to feel what's happening, and that is the actual beauty in off-roading. That was so nice. I'm just doing it again, going down this time. Even when you do it slightly more exuberantly, like I am now, you don't feel uncomfortable, which is nice. It doesn't, there's nothing distracting you from the experience of actually feeling what's happening, which is quite beautiful. So, should you buy a Mazda BT-50 if you are in the market for an actual off-road going 4x4? Well, yes. Firstly, it's as comfortable to drive on the road on an everyday basis as just about any other 4x4 that you can buy. It is just as heavy on fuel as any other 4x4, and the drivability in terms of navigating parking lots and narrow streets are just as idiotically, inconsiderably unpractical as any other 4x4. But you do have the benefit of the size, and when it comes to actual off-roading, that's where the real difference comes in. It's just as capable as a four-wheel drive 4x4 off-roader as any other one, but you do have the added fun in the form of steering feel, which really does tie you to the experience of off-roading. If the automatic gearbox does not tickle your fancy, it is available in manual, just like any other 4x4. The automatic gearbox does obviously make it a lot easier, seeing as you only do about a quarter of the work, but it is there if you want it. So yes, I think this is just as good a 4x4 as any. I wouldn't say it's better or worse than any other. Its price is quite steep, I'm not going to argue with that, but for the price you must consider that compared to other 4x4s you are getting a bit more fun. So that's it from Clutch and Go and Mazda month, with the BT-50 being our last installment. Please like, subscribe, share, follow, do all the things that you people do on social media to make people like me slightly more popular. Also visit the website www.clutchandgo.co.za and subscribe to receive latest content hot off the digital press.